Welcome everybody to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It is press conference day. In 48 hours time, fight night will be upon us, but today all of the boxers get their final chance to say, well, whatever it is that they want to say to each other before things get very real. I'm Andy Clark, joining me once again Matt Macklin and Sonny Edwards as we count down to the latest instalment in a 35-year-old saga.
Two names forever linked in boxing history, Ben and Eubank. And the build-up to their clash on April 26th is reigniting a rivalry 30 years in the past. As their sons prepare to step into the ring, they will be settling a score that has spanned decades. And now, history is about to repeat itself. By the 10th of July 2022, rumours had already begun to spread of a legendary matchup between the two sons. On August 9th, we finally got confirmation. The bout was set. The sons of the fathers were going to meet October 8th, 2022.
It's mad to think you can walk through me.
You've got to be confident, eh?
Yeah, delusional, yeah.
But despite everyone wanting the fight, Eddie Hearn put out a tweet saying it had been postponed.
We wanted to come here today and formally announce that Chris Eubank Jr against Conor Benn has been officially postponed.
By the 23rd of September, after a staggering 525 days away from competition, Conor Benn returned to the ring. A few months later, in October, and both men are in Riyadh with Eubank fighting for the IBO middleweight title. And immediately after, Conor jumped in the ring and the two men were right back at it.
I want you next. We're here, let's do it.
Then, as a new year broke in early January, boxing fans got the announcement they had been waiting for. The long-awaited grudge match would be going down April 26th. And now we stand on the brink of what promises to be one of the most anticipated boxing bouts in British history. One question remains. Who will settle the score in what is sure to be a legacy-defining moment?
Well, that very much is the question. Who is going to settle the score? And will it be settled once and for all? Because there is a rematch clause in play here as well. And let's just start today by talking a little bit of contractual stuff, because we discovered yesterday that there's going to be an 18-foot ring. Conor Benn told our colleagues that that was something that he insisted upon. The £10 rehydration, we understand, also was something that they insisted upon being in the contract. When you look at things like that, that can kind of suggest to you maybe, Matt, that they've kind of dictated the terms quite literally, and Eubank has either had no choice but to go along with it, or he just doesn't care. He doesn't think it makes any difference. £10 fine, 18-foot fine. Let's just do it. I'm going to win whatever.
Yeah, well, looking like any negotiation, there's going to be back and forth, and you're going to get to sticking points, and then it's either you dig your heels in or you call their bluff, or the fight falls by the wayside. And I think both men wanted this fight. I think Eubank probably feels when it gets to that point in negotiating, well, do you know what? I'm the bigger guy anyway. I'm the proven guy. He'll believe he's the better man. And he thinks, do you know what? I can concede that 2 foot, 18 foot, 20 foot. A ring's a ring.
What do you think of the whole 18-foot scenario? Because generally British rings are 20 feet inside the ropes, one side to the other, 20 feet. 2 feet may not sound like all that much to somebody who hasn't been in there and done it and appreciated every inch of space, and you were very good at using every inch of that space. So just describe to people why it makes a difference.
I mean, the closer you are, the less room there is to move, the less of the ring, there's less ropes. There's a lot, and normally you only see those smaller rings, typically, unless a fighter is ordered for one, in the smaller venues, in the York Hall. Instead, we've got the smaller ring in probably one of the biggest venues that the UK has to offer. And yeah, you would think it would make a difference. Now, I don't know the exact reason as to why 18, whether they think it's going to be the work rate, the pace of the fight will be a bit quicker, and that might be the reason as to wanting it a bit tighter. Because we don't think Chris is really going to back foot and try and use every corner of the ring. I couldn't imagine that, but that pace might really start paying off with the weight cut, with the age, with the maybe harder fights and a longer career so far that Chris Eubank has had. And that's probably, in my opinion, where the Benns are pushing for. If we have a smaller ring, we can get closer, easier to his chest. We can slow him from running down quicker on the ropes, and we can make it harder for him in there.
As we saw that ring being built in the middle of this Tottenham Hotspur pitch, we believe that actually it's the same ring that they used for Derek Chisora against Otto Wallin a few weeks ago. And some rivals. These two know the layout here pretty well because they came here for the press tour. They had a little bit of a face-off on the pitch, which came 2 days after the egg incident, so they were kept apart. They kind of approached each other from opposite ends of the pitch, really, and then were kept at a reasonably safe distance. Another detail that's emerged this afternoon, actually, broken by our very own colleagues at the ring. I love this, because this is what I'm here for during fight week. We understand that Conor Benn has asked Billy Joe Saunders to be part of the team, and he will be the one who will go into Eubank's dressing room and oversee the hand wrapping. Now, that's a critical point in proceedings. You have a team member goes and oversees the hand wrapping, and they're looking out for anything illegal, any layering, anything like that. I don't know how much attention Billy Joe is actually going to be paying to any of that, or how much he'll be just trying to get under Eubank's skin. But these are the things that happen, these little manoeuvres.
Well, I don't think he's probably sent in there to be an expert on the hand wrap, and I think he's in there to antagonise and irritate and try and get Eubank to lose his focus, because let's be honest, we know there's no love lost between those pair, and Billy Joe Saunders is a pound-for-pound legend when it comes to winding people up. So that would be, if you're Team Ben and you want to get under Eubank Jr.'s skin just before he's about to go out to the ring and try and knock him off focus, Billy Joe Saunders is the perfect man to send in there.
And Billy Joe's one of those that will really wind up his mates. You're in a personal setting with him and you're going somewhere, your keys might end up on the motorway or something. He's just always ready to do something. Now, put him in a big pressure moment against kind of, at one point, definitely his sworn enemy, whilst he's about to go in the ring and he's not really doing anything apart from going there and irritating. I think it's going to be a spectacle. I just hope that they have some cameras in there. Now, one thing I will say is I think they might have jumped the gun letting everyone know, because I think if I was any member of Chris Eubank's
surprise.
If I was any member of Chris Eubank's camp right now, his team, I'm doing everything in my power to ensure that that doesn't happen just before I get into the ring. However, it is under the British board rules, to my understanding anyway, that it's the team's responsibility, whoever they want to send to the other changing room. So you don't really have the jurisdiction to stop someone from coming in, because you're getting your hands wrapped and they're getting watched by someone from the other team. So it will be really interesting to see if they do try and put their foot down, try and say the fight's not happening potentially if that does happen. But at the same time, I think Chris Eubank will relish it. I think I'm saying for the team to say it for him, but I think Chris Eubank will come in the changing room, because I'll beat him and then I'll beat him after. That's probably the angle he's going to go. He'd probably quite enjoy it, knowing what Chris Eubank's been like.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Those little strokes they're what make fight week, and you always get them, whether it's a row about gloves or whatever it is. And this is a fight card. The press conference, by the way, will be split into two. So the undercard will go first, then we'll have a little break, and then the main event will go by themselves with promoters, trainers, and I think a couple of other people up there as well. And we heard from a good few people yesterday: Lyndon Arthur, Liam Smith, Chev Clark and Brandon Glanton, and those are good, well-matched fights, every single one of them. You look at them and you get the feeling that they're going to deliver. You can't really imagine in any of those contests us getting any kind of a phony war where the two fighters just stand off each other and aren't willing to commit. I'd imagine Yarde against Arthur could be a little bit cagey in the early stages as they kind of have a look at each other. I think you're going to be I think you're in the corner, are you, for Lyndon?
Yeah, I'll be in the corner of Lyndon. I've been in every corner he's had for the last few years now, and yeah, obviously it doesn't take a boxing expert to see how that Lyndon is going to approach that fight. He's going to use his reach, he's going to use his range. He's got one of the best jabs in the world. We spoke about it so much and so highly, and he really needs to establish that. And as well, when Yarde does come forward, he needs to make sure he's putting his feet in the correct position to land the clean shots. And look, Lyndon's got the capability and got the skills. He showed that in the first round, the first fight. But what he's got to do is make sure that and Anthony Yarde, that knows he had success last time he came fresh out the blocks and started really fast, he's only going to come like that again. So it's the first 4, 5, 6 rounds that Lyndon has got to negate. He's got to, you know, take the rush away from Yarde. And then if he can do that, I expect Lyndon to really run away with the fight down the stretch.
Two good runs at cruiserweight, Matt. Two really, really good ones. You look at Chris Smith, who we've covered a lot in the last few years and seen what he's achieved. Absolutely incredible night in Bournemouth against Lawrence Okoli. Very, very difficult fight to win, but he got it done. Now he's the hunted, isn't he? He has been since he's been a world champion, but Glanton is hungry, and he's looking at Bilham Smith and thinking, you're slightly wounded after Zurdo Ramirez, and this is a good time to get you.
Yeah, and I can understand why Glanton would think that. You know, he's on the way down, you would say, Bilham Smith. And Glanton wants to be where Bilham Smith has achieved, and he probably thinks that Bilham Smith's hunger levels maybe not quite there, maybe a little bit shot, 1 miles on the clock, and coming off that loss to Ramirez, this is probably the right time to get him. But, you know, Bilham Smith, in terms of his own ambition, staying in the game, staying at top level, it's a must-win fight for him too.
So what's it like when you flip that switch, Sonny, and you go from being the hunter to being the hunted? Because you were the hunter against Maruti Umthalani, full of ambition and optimism, and really being motivated by that prospect of achievement and being a world champion. Then you get the belt, and it's different, isn't it? Because you're the hunted then, and you've got a target on your back.
Yeah, and I think probably at different stages, different thought processes. I think that belt, that's something you've never had before. I think that the boost you get for that camp, the sort of the focus you have, the determination you have, it's kind of like it's like a win that a lot of the times fighters don't really find again. You know, that first world title, that first, no, this is the time that I'm going to put in all the work, do all the things right, listen to the advice around me, and make sure that I come away as a world champion. And it is a bit different. Once you've got it, you get a big sense of belief all of a sudden. The fighters that you've looked up to for your whole life, and now you are now them. But then again, when you have that belief, it's much easier for the complacency to fill in, especially when maybe it's not the biggest, hardest fight. You know, sometimes you see good world champions take the eye off the ball a little bit when they're going through their voluntaries or their mandatories, and it's not that staple name in the division that they're aiming for. And I think it's hard. It's also hard to balance now the lifestyle change, because usually all the nice things in life can come after winning them world titles.
And if we look at our fight at middleweight, that, Matt, is another example of an opponent in McKenna who will feel like they are getting Liam Smith at the perfect time, because he joined us yesterday on the stream, and he says different, of course. We'll see on the night. He says he's got plenty left, ambition as well as gas in the tank. But the bare fact is he hasn't boxed since the second fight against Eubank, and honestly, that was a bit of a disaster. So you can see why the McKennas will look at him and feel like Glanton does with Bilham Smith. this is the right time.
Completely. Liam Smith in the rematch for the Eubank fight looked a shell of himself. He was poor by his own admissions. He was terrible in there that night, and you could see that pretty much from the start. The fact he stayed in there so long, I actually thought he did well to hang in there. And he hasn't boxed since then. And there's been a long period of inactivity, and he's a little bit older and making weights a little bit harder, and all these things are stacked, you would say, in McKenna's corner. They're positives for him. Of course, Liam has said, look, X, Y, and Z happened in the build-up to the Eubank fight. That's why I wasn't able. I didn't have time to make the weight, etc., etc. But for this one, I'm okay. I'm going to be bang on. But we don't know that, and he won't even know that until he gets in the ring.
And he has been out the ring for quite a long time, but he did also have that full camp coming for a big fight with Josh Kelly, and then, what was it, about 11 days before he fell ill. I think he'd been trying to work through it for a week or two, and then they had to give enough time and show they're accustomed to, you know, everyone that was involved to give Josh Kelly a chance to find a replacement. He could have been selfish and just left it last minute. But look, he held his hands up and said, look, I'm not going to be ready. Ishmael Davies, a fighter that I look after and manage, got the call up last minute, step in, and had a great fight with him. But Liam had that camp. He had that, I'm getting ready for a fight. So it's not like he's been completely out. He was probably in a better place in between that time now to now this fight week, especially a long run-up of knowing that this fight was going to happen, than he ever was for the rematch against Eubank. I genuinely believe that.
So Thomas Triber is strolled into position behind us. So just time for a quick one, I think, on the British Cruiserweight title fight between Vidal Riley and Chev Clark. We had Chev up on the stream yesterday. It's a really good, well-matched fight. Really, really promising, I think, that it will deliver in very basic terms. And he kind of chuckled about it, Chev. You've got the stylist in Vidal Riley and the tougher, more durable guy, more proven guy in Chev Clark. But things rarely work out quite that simply. Okay, not enough time for that in the end. Here's Thomas Triber.
A great night of championship boxing this Saturday, April 26th, from Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London, England. It is all being brought to you by Ring Magazine and SNK Corporation, the publisher of the famous video game Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves, with Eddie Hearn for Matchroom Boxing, Ben Shalom for Boxer, and Box Raw in association with Ring Magazine. Along with their great sponsors, Public Investment Fund, Visit Saudi, STC, SRMG, Dr. Suleiman El Habib Medical Group, Saudia, the national airline of Saudi Arabia, Jeddah Season, Malaf Cola, Visit Qatar, Core Group, Desert, NHC, Jacko, Sky, Arab National Bank, First Data, Sella, and SMC. A big thanks to those great sponsors. The Fatal Fury event is now sold out, but you can still watch it live worldwide on DAZN and in the UK on Sky Sports Box Office. Let's get things started and welcome the participants of our first press conference here today. Our first two fighters competing Saturday in a 12-round cruiserweight contest. Let's first welcome from Atlanta, Georgia, USA. Let's welcome Brandon Bulletproof Glanton. And now let's welcome the Fighting Pride of Bournemouth, England, known as the Gentleman, Chris Eubank Smith. Our next two fighters competing Saturday in a scheduled 12-round contest. It will be for the British Cruiserweight Championship. Let's first welcome the challenger from Tottenham, London, England, Vidal, the realist, Riley. And now let's welcome from Gravesend, Kent, England. He is the defending champion, C4 Chev Clark. Our next two fighters competing Saturday in a scheduled 12-round contest. It will be for the vacant WBA International Middleweight Championship. Let's first welcome from Monaghan, Ireland, known as the Silencer, Aaron McKenna. And now let's welcome from Liverpool, England, Liam Beefy Smith. Our next two fighters competing Saturday in a trilogy rematch scheduled 12 rounds for the vacant WBA Intercontinental Light Heavyweight Championship. Let's first welcome from Manchester, England, Lyndon King Arthur. And now let's welcome from Ilford, London, England, Anthony, the Beast from the East, Yarde. And now we hand things over to your host, Mr. Jamie Ward.
Thank you, Thomas Drybar. Okay, here we go. I think that was Derek Chisora, was it, down there in the front row? Oh, was it? Oh, Benjalom. Sorry, Derek. Sorry, false accusation. Sorry, I'm definitely sorry. Wrong person to accuse, Derek Chisora. What a start. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a hugely significant press conference for a hugely significant boxing event taking place this Saturday night right here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We know, of course, the story of the main event, 35 years in the making. The history book reopened, the family feud reignited once more, as the sons of legends, the sons of world champions Chris Eubank Jr and Conor Benn take centre stage to settle their own growing personal feud, which has bubbled up and boiled over completely over the last 2 years. Before we talk about the main event a little bit later on, we are going to be talking about the undercard, and it almost seems like a little bit of a disservice to say undercard when you look at the host of talent, former world champions and emerging stars that sit here today. A truly magnificent event brought to you by Ring Magazine to look forward to on Saturday night. Before we do hear from all the fighters taking part this weekend, we are going to hear from the promoters as well. Firstly, Mr. Ben Shalom of Boxer. Ben, in terms of this, just to be here on this stage, a magnificent event for us all to look forward to on Saturday night. You've got a couple of guys on this undercard in big fights for their career. What does it mean to you, and what does it mean to Boxer as well to be here?
Oh, it means a lot. It's an absolutely enormous event. 4 unbelievable British fights on the undercard, as you say. Each one of them could easily headline their own shows, but for our guys, Chris Smith, coming off the back of the defeat against Zurdo Ramirez for the unification, looking to bounce straight back in against Brandon Glanton, who we know very well. It's an absolute firefight, and Vidal Riley is his chance to make a huge statement on this card. I believe he's going to steal the show. He's fighting the Chev Clark, Eddie's guy, and I think we're going to get another win over Matchroom, but it is just a beautiful, beautiful undercard on an unbelievable show. Thank you to His Excellency. Thank you Boxer to Matchroom for putting on what is a historic event, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you, Ben. Let's bring in promoter Eddie Hearn. Eddie, we're going to let you speak now, because I know when Chris Eubank Jr tends to be present at these press conferences, he doesn't let you get too much of a word in. Now's your chance to get it all off your chest. To be here for Matchroom, the same question I asked Ben Shalom, what does this mean to you and to Matchroom?
Yeah, incredible. Thanks everyone for coming today, firstly. Amazing support from the media for a very big night for British boxing, a very big week for the Ring magazine, of course. Incredible support from His Excellency, and crazy to think that on Saturday night 65,000 people will dawn on this incredible stadium for a fight of the generations, Chris Eubank Jr against Conor Benn. But also amazing to think that 6 days after that we'll be closing down Times Square with the Ring magazine for just an iconic night in New York, and 24 hours later Canelo Alvarez will make his debut in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia for the undisputed super middleweight world championships. Just an incredible time for boxing, and as you said, an incredible undercard up here on the Matchroom side. Two guys that we love are in huge fights. I think, as we said to Ben yesterday, Chev Clark against Vidal Riley is a main event fight, certainly a co-main event on any big card. That's coming early in the night. And I think a fight that could steal the show is Liam Smith against Aaron McKenna. I think it's a brilliant fight, and even the two fights that we aren't involved with. Brandon Glanton's got plenty to say. I think he's a great character who's coming to win. Chris Smith's been an unbelievable servant for British boxing. And Yarde against Arthur 3. So an unbelievable undercard, an iconic main event. And British boxing firmly on the map this weekend. It's been a great run, thanks to everyone involved, Boxer, their teams, Ring magazine, our team as well at Matchroom, the best in the game. Shout out as always to Frank Smith there. He's been working around the clock on this event and at Times Square next week. Rick, everybody at the Ring magazine, thank you so much, and good luck to everybody up here. Remember this night, whether you're tuning in live on DAZN around the world or you're in the stadium, and of course if you're lucky enough to be fighting, remember this night. This is what it's all about. Enjoy yourself.
Okay, thank you, Eddie. Thank you, Ben Shalom, as well. We might come back to you if we get time as well to just talk about your guys on the card in better detail. Let's bring in the fighters then, and what a time it is to be a cruiserweight right now. When you look at the current champions, Badou Jack, a big fight coming up for him over in Saudi Arabia. Jai Opetaia, Ring magazine and IBF world champion. And Zurdo Ramirez, currently unified world cruiserweight champion as well. But there's a lot of good fighters following in the pack behind, and four fighters indeed, on the card this weekend. Firstly, of course, in the opener, it's Chris Smith against Brandon Glanton. Chris, I'm going to come to you first down there. Good to see you. I mentioned Zurdo Ramirez there. In the months that have followed on from the fight with Zurdo, what have you learned about yourself and what you still want from the mad old world of boxing?
I've got plenty to improve on. That's what I've learned from that fight. You know, I'm honoured to be on a card like this. Thank you to everyone who's involved. But yeah, it's time for me to get back to winning ways, and that's the plan. And in terms of the champions, I mentioned you talk about that ambition. What is a victory over Brandon Glanton your chance to do, in your opinion? Yeah, he's highly ranked with all the governing bodies, so it's a good opportunity for me to make a huge statement and then get a shot at one of the champions again. He's not been quiet in the build-up, and we're going to ask Mr. Glanton about it in just a moment, but what have you done to upset him? Where's that energy come from? I don't know. I'm sure he'll tell everyone in a minute. He's told most people. OK, Chris, wish you the best of luck on Saturday night. Brandon Glanton, welcome. Yesterday on the DAZN broadcast, Chris Smith was doing an interview and you were leaning over, saying something to him. I couldn't quite hear what you were saying. Can you tell us what you were saying to Chris Smith yesterday?
Well, you know what? First and foremost, piggyback off of what Ben said, I want to thank His Excellency for having me here, Boxer, Matchroom, obviously my management team, Nova, and Team Eubank. I wouldn't even be here without them guys, so thank you for putting this together for me. It's beautiful. As far as Chris, he knows exactly where that energy came from. Chris is a bitch. That's just plain and simple. Chris is a bitch. Obviously, I'm in the UK, so he's got plenty of fans here. But what I love about this place, it's a real fighting country. Obviously, everyone knows boxing was born here, so I won't have to worry about that long. Rounds 1, 2, 3, they roll by. They'll be screaming for me. Chris is a bitch.
What
a disrespectful
you... Oh, sorry,
bitch.
Brandon, go on. Carry on, Brandon, sorry.
Oh, that's it.
OK. What has given you that opinion of Chris Smith in the build-up? Where does that energy come from towards him?
as he said, you know, I didn't plan on getting much into it, but at the media workout in 2023, when Okoli and Billum fought, he was very disrespectful. Obviously, everyone knows I was there in support of Okoli, helping him get ready for the fight. Would have been in the fight myself and had it upset, but yeah, it's helping him get ready, and he's a great guy, you know. I just, in appreciation for the fight itself, you know, I wanted to congratulate him for having the opportunity. There was no malice, there was no attitude, no problems. Just wanted to congratulate him for making it to that stage where I want to be. I stick my hand out, he walks right past me. It's disrespectful. So, as I said in the interviews, you know, we're men before we're fighters, right? And he is a father before he's a fighter. So, your son has a bitch as a father. I don't care about these cameras, these lights. I'm gonna fuck you up. That's why I'm here. So, it's not a show. Everyone knows I'm gonna give you brain damage, dog. So it's not a show. It's not for the lights. It's not for the camera. My family probably in their phone right now because they know it's true. They don't worry about me when I fight. So that's pretty much it. But thank you.
Just finally, Chris, I will offer you an opportunity just to respond to that one.
I'll leave my talking to Saturday.
Okay, well, they're talking very nearly over a great fight to kick things off on Saturday night. Chris Smith against Brandon Glanton. And sticking with the cruiserweight division, there is a domestic banger to look forward to on Saturday night. Our very own North London derby here at the home of Tottenham Hotspur, of course. British cruiserweight champion, lifelong Arsenal supporter, Mr. Chev Clark, meets lifelong Tottenham supporter, Mr. Vidal Riley. Chev, let me come to you first. A bit like Chris, looking to bounce back to winning ways in the months that have followed on from that Mascara defeat for the European title over in Monte Carlo in December. What have you done in this camp differently to look to improve on ahead of another big fight in your journey on Saturday night?
I've taken, first of all, good evening to everybody. Thank you to all the organisers, Turkey Al Sheikh and the ring. But yeah, after the defeat, you know, like anybody, you don't want your O to go, so I took myself away. Been in the dungeon, as you can see. I've just been working on the things that I didn't do right that night. And yeah, come Saturday night, we'll show that.
And of course, no doubt every Arsenal fan's dream to fight here at the home of Tottenham Hotspur. Despite being the champion, how are you feeling about everything attached to this fight and the away day as well here at Tottenham?
I mean, it would have been better at the Emirates, wouldn't it? I mean, this is a toilet.
Depends who you ask, I suppose. And just finally, Chev, when you look at Vidal Riley as a challenge, he said this is his destiny to win the British title on Saturday night. What is he in the way of for you right now, and how do you beat him?
Look, destiny changes every day, doesn't it? It changes with every decision you make, so it's good he's got a crystal ball. But yeah, he's in the way of me providing for my family, and that's ultimately what it comes down to. So, you know, my family's got to eat at the end of the day. And, you know, I got plans, me and Eddie's got plans for the future, so it's going to be great. Tune in Saturday night. This fight's going to seal the show.
Okay, well, let's bring in Vidal Riley. Vidal, I just used that word there, destiny. We know you're a lifelong Tottenham Hotspur supporter, fighting for the British title as well. In what ways is this just about the dream scenario you could have always imagined?
Well, firstly, I'd like to thank all the organisers, my respects to everyone that's allowed me to have this opportunity. It is destiny, because there's been many things along my journey that I've said I'd do years before I'd do it. You know, it looked like it might not happen. It looked like it would never happen. And then I'm on the road, I'm on the track. I'm here in Tottenham, grew up 5 minutes down the road, get to fight an Arsenal fan for the British title. This is destiny. I just need to fulfill it, and I'll do that Saturday night.
And in terms of Chev Clark as a challenge, particularly his last two performances, you talked on the DAZN broadcast about being able to take something from them, two performances. What is that?
It's not just the last two performances. I've watched Chev for years. I've seen Chev for years. I know what he brings to the table. He's going to bring something different. That's exciting. That's challenge. I like that. But whatever he brings, I will come out on top.
27 years of age, you said you feel this has come at the perfect time for you. And you said you'll show Chev's age in there on Saturday. Ultimately, what does this come down to, in your opinion?
It's about waves and seasons. Life is waves and seasons. And now it's my wave. If everyone that is a Chev's age mate has touched the world level, fought for world titles, been at that level, he hasn't done that. He's missed his wave. I'm 27 years old. It's the right age to be British champion and continue to climb.
Missed the wave? Chev?
You know, some people ride the wave and some people provide the wave. So I ain't riding no wave. Pause.
Quick one from the two promoters, of course. This is Matchroom versus Boxer. In this one as well, Ben, shall I make your case for your man?
Look, I think Vidal, we started working with him a couple of years ago now, and I've always been amazed. You know, this is a guy that can make a lot of money outside the ring. This is a guy with millions of followers. This is a guy that brings so much else to the table, but it was always, Ben, I want to be respected. I want to do things the traditional route. I want to do things the hard way. And that's what Saturday night's about for Vidal. It's about proving himself. He's an elite level talent. Throughout the GB system, he was always considered the best. He took a bit of time away, came back into the professional sport, and has been flawless since. And I really believe this is his coming out party. I really believe this is his time. I think after this, I want to see him headlining shows. I want to see him being a big star in British boxing, and Chev Clark standing in his way. The British title up for grabs, and this is everything that he's ever wanted at his hometown and in Tottenham. So I think there's only one winner on Saturday.
One winner, Eddie Hearn, according to Ben. Shall I make your case for Chev Clark?
I think Ben's right. I think it's a brilliant fight. I mean, I have to give props to Vidal, like not, you know, small. It's a great fight, but that's about where it ends. I think Vidal Riley, when he first came on the scene, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, I thought he was leaning himself into the YouTube world of boxing, and I respect the fact that he's trying to, go and win a British title. I just think that the experience of Chev Clark, the pedigree of Chev Clark, the amateur, journey of Chev Clark, the Olympics, I just think he's a world-class fighter. He's moved incredibly quickly. He's had 11 fights. He's boxed as co-main event in Los Angeles in a war. He was boxing guys like Vasil Duka in his third and fourth fight. He lost against a world-ranked fighter in his last fight. But he must win on Saturday. And I believe he'll win. But I don't think it'll be an easy fight. And I think Vidal Riley's a quality competitor with a big heart. But I just don't think he's going to be good enough to beat Chev Clark. And I think it'll be a tremendous fight. But I expect Chev to win this fight, get that British title won, and then move back where he should be, which is against the world-class cruiserweights.
Okay, thanks. The title ready. Come on now.
Win the British title outright. Chev, I'm on your team, mate. Like, I'm supposed to be bantering with him, not you.
Troubles in paradise over
I'll be
here.
screaming for you on Saturday. Sorry, mate?
I'm surprised he said anything.
Who?
Chev avoids confrontation anyway, ain't that right, Chev?
Me? I avoid confrontation.
Brandon said that he wants to bash you up and all.
But don't, be careful, your bra might get wet, buddy.
I can't understand you, but listen,
All right.
we've been walking around all week, bro. You walked past me right here where my man's sitting.
Yeah, I tried.
And you ain't said nothing.
I tried to you up and you did the same thing Billum did. So two bitches on the same side. That's crazy.
Listen, if you want to do it now, we can do it now.
Hey, it's no problem for me. I'll fuck you up, bro.
Don't start all of that now.
Hey, you better watch him out, boy.
What are you calling, boy?
Brandon's on smoke down there, isn't he?
Okay, well, didn't want to interrupt that, but as I said, a terrific time to be a cruiserweight indeed, as if you needed reminding, there you go. And when you look into this next contest as well on Saturday night, a great fight in the middleweight division, former world champion Liam Smith back after a lengthy time out the ring. Of course, the last time we saw him was that defeat to Chris Eubank Jr. up in Manchester. He meets 19-0 Aaron McKenna. They call him the silencer. And Aaron, you believe on Saturday night you'll silence any doubters who are telling you that this is a step too far, too soon against a fighter like Liam Smith?
Yeah, I understand there's a lot of people, saying it's too soon for me, it's too early, I'm too young. I don't have the experience, but now it's my time to show everyone that all the training, all the hard work, all the experience I've had throughout the years will pay off, and Saturday night I look forward to it.
What version of Liam Smith do you want to beat on Saturday night?
The best version, and I do expect the best version of Liam Smith to turn up. I want the one that knocked out Chris Eubank, and I believe that's the one that's coming. You know, it was only 2 fights ago where he knocked out Eubank in devastating fashion, so that's the one I do hope that turns up.
Well, let's bring Liam Smith in as well. Liam, you've been at the very top of the sport. Despite that, as I say, 19 months out the ring. Do you feel like you're coming into this weekend with something to prove?
Yeah, first of all, Jamie, you know, I want to just thank His Excellency for having me on a huge ring card. Eddie, Frank Smith, good to be back. And, you know, I've had a tough 12 months since, you know, obviously 18 months when I lost to Chris, getting injured after it, falling ill for the huge September card at Wembley. But it's good to be back. It's good to be back fit and healthy, back in shape, and you know I'm looking forward to this. And like I say, the best Liam Smith turns up. You know, Adam McKenna's made for me, and that's the one I fully intend to turn up.
When you came face to face at the Grand Arrivals, you said that you'd already noticed a few kinks in the armour. You said that you feel he looks nervous. Where did you get that from, and how did that come about in your mindset from just that short face to face? Yeah,
I just think, you know, like the style wise, the attitude wise, you know, him and his brother, they're kind of the same thing. I think you know, the game, they're very hungry, you know, enthusiastic kids, but I also feel that's going to be, you know, Aaron's downfall. You know, wanting to have a 8 minute stare off. We've got another 3. We've probably got another one in a minute, another one tomorrow. You know, just I think he showed a little bit of a kink in his armour already, and he's got a lot to soak up on Saturday night.
What do you make of that, Aaron?
Listen, this is my way of doing things. I don't change anything for no one, and this is the fight game. Saturday night, it's going to be a war, me and Liam Smith. I think it's going to steal the show. You can have it in a phone booth. It's going to be that good, and once that bell goes, I'm going out there.
Not if you go southpaw like you did yesterday, Aaron.
Yeah?
Not if you go southpaw like you did yesterday at home.
You never know. That's to keep you thinking. If I come out southpaw,
you've got an 18-foot ring. Come out southpaw, orthodox, or whatever way you want. 18-foot ring, I'll get you.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to be taking a step back.
No problem.
I believe I'm the stronger guy. After 6 rounds, you're expecting me to get tired. I think it's going to go the other way around.
No problem.
Can we push you both for a final prediction in one sentence, Liam Smith?
Yeah, I think, you know, Aaron will start very competitive, very early, but I'll break him down. I'll be too good for him later on.
I think I'll knock him out. I meet him in the middle of the ring, push him back. Halfway through the fight, that's when I'll really drive forward and take over.
Okay, tremendous fight to look forward to on Saturday night in the middleweight division. Liam Smith and the unbeaten Aaron McKenna. Can't wait for that one. And we look forward to this one as well. It's one apiece between these two, and what a great time it is right now as well. We talked about the cruiserweight division earlier on, but to be a light heavyweight as well right now on the domestic and the world scene, of course, Arda Peterviev, Dmitry Bivol have treated us to 2 classic undisputed world championship fights in Saudi Arabia, the likes of David Benavidez, Callum Smith, Joshua Buatsi, David Burrell. The list goes on, are following in pursuit of those champions, and the winner of this fight on Saturday night, no doubt, will be right in the frame to put themselves in a huge fight at the back end of 2025. Lyndon, let me come to you first. One apiece in this one with Anthony Yarde. Is this a fight that you always saw on the horizon? Is it a fight that you always wanted to bury your own personal rivalry with Anthony Yarde?
It wasn't one where I would lose sleep over it never happening, but I always thought that it would happen eventually, yeah.
And in terms of the mindset for you, I heard you yesterday talking to Ring Magazine, and you said, look, after you fought Bivol, you really had to dig in that night. You went 12 rounds. In the fight that followed that, perhaps you found it a little bit difficult to get up for it in the same way. How has the desire refound you in this camp for this fight with Anthony Yarde?
Yeah, obviously it's the third fight, and the way that I lost the second fight is, I won't say embarrassing because it's the fight game, but it kind of stung me a little bit, and it was a hard, bitter pill to swallow. So I'm here now to right that wrong.
Anthony, let's bring you in. I spoke to you yesterday, and you said, well, I said it's one apiece between you and Lyndon Arthur, and you gritted your teeth and you said, that annoys me. Why is that?
when I first fought Yarde-Arthur, I was going through a lot. I've never been the one to make excuses, but it was during COVID, no crowd. I lost 4 family members, my dad being one of them. But my mentality at the time was, you know, you got to be professional. You know, if a fight gets offered to you, you got to take it. It will keep me preoccupied, keep my mind off of it. But again, I didn't get the decision. He won by split decision. I was fuming. Like, I was just saying to myself, like, I don't think he's got the ability to beat me. When I watched it back, I was disappointed in myself. I was like, that's not me, etc. So when the rematch got made, I said, all right, I need to show them what I'm about. What caused a bit of grit as well is how he acted after that fight. After the first fight, there was like an arrogance that came about that wasn't there before. Before it was very respectful. It was like, you know, you give me the opportunity, we're fighting, etc. I congratulated him. I even messaged him on Instagram saying, you know what, congratulations, bro. Like, I know where you come from. I come from a similar background. You get what I'm saying? You've bettered your life. And then I see some interviews where he's gloating and stuff, talking about it was easy, one hand and all that stuff. So I said, okay. Second fight comes up. I said, I'm going to knock him out. I'm going to show him what I'm about. And that chip still hasn't gone. I'll be honest with you. So I'm looking forward to it.
What do you make of that, Lyndon?
It is what it is. We're fighting Saturday, so it makes no difference.
Final one to you then, Yarde-Arthur. You've beaten Anthony Yarde before. Tell us how you do it again on Saturday night.
I think I get him late, if I'm honest.
And for you, Anthony, as I keep talking about big fights, await the winner. You've been in there with some of the best, Kovalev, the Turbiev, that everyone keeps talking about that fight with you and Joshua Buatsi. Who knows if we'll see that one day, but none of that matters. Right now, you've got a very hungry Yarde-Arthur in front of you. How do you settle your own rivalry in this trilogy on Saturday?
Not really thinking about Yarde-Arthur, but me as a person, when I got into the sport, I wanted to be entertaining. I think that's how I kind of made a name for myself. So you're going to see more of that coming Saturday. I want to be as exciting as I've ever been. So yeah, I'm excited for it.
Okay, well, what a supporting cast this is. So much to look forward to on Saturday night as far as this stacked undercard goes. We are going to pause now, I believe, for some face-offs. Main event press conference coming next.
Okay, so that's part one of today's proceedings. Almost done and dusted, as Jamie said. We will have some face-offs now, and that was good. That was entertaining. I thought there was plenty that came out of that. The main thing is that Brandon Glanton is a man who can manufacture and then really hold on to a grudge, because you could see what he was saying to Chris Billam-Smith there. Billam-Smith, I think, is a bit kind of bewildered by it. But the story is basically that in Bournemouth, during the fight week when he ended up beating Lawrence Okoli, Brandon Glanton was there because he was part of the team Okoli. He offered his hand to Chris Billam-Smith, and Billam-Smith blanked him. Billam-Smith has no recollection of this, and apparently Chev Clark did the same thing to Brandon Glanton earlier on this week. I'm not saying that Brandon is making this up, but fighters have been known to create these injustices and insults and brood over them and use them, and I think that's what he's doing, isn't he?
Yeah, and or he might be just hypersensitive. You know, I don't think Chris is the type of person to blank anyone, certainly not someone that's coming up to congratulate him. So I think, I'm guessing Brandon Glanton, if I had to say, and I don't know, but if I had to guess, I would imagine that he's misread that situation.
And look, I'm just really glad that this week when I met Brandon Glanton, I shook his hand. He was going through the table, it might have got up to the studio, so. But yeah, I think this is a fantastic fight. I think there's a bit of grit, definitely, and I can't lie, I want to see the Chev Clark versus Brandon Glanton. I want to see that fight already, and they've not even gotten the fight for the weekend yet.
So they're just trying to split these two up, and they broke that gaze just at the right time, but now they're having a conversation. Brandon Glanton raised that arm there, as you could see. Billam-Smith didn't appreciate him invading his space, and this just adds some real extra spice to the fight on Saturday, because what we knew about this one is that stylistically it was going to work, but now there's a little bit of animosity there created by Glanton, which will rile up Billam-Smith. He is a gentleman, he is a very pleasant person to be around, but he's a fighter.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough fight for him. I think style-wise, Glanton being so short, stocky and physically strong, you know, CBS isn't the slickest or the quickest. So, you know, generally his fitness and his consistency and his all-round ability, his physicality are things that work for him. And, you know, against Glanton, it could be a tough fight.
So Chev Clark got dragged into it as well, but he won't care about that because he's got his eyes firmly set on Vidal Riley. That's the Ring Magazine belt in the middle there, just been shown off this Ring Magazine event. It is a beautiful piece of kit that, held up by Rick Reno. And it's a very well-matched fight, this too, because these are two fighters on an upward trajectory. Nobody could question that. Chev Clark is a bit further up the curve than Vidal Riley, but if Vidal beats him, he catches him and overhauls him, and that's a great formula.
Yeah, and a fantastic clash of styles. I think this one, I think the fans are in for a treat. I think when Chev's trying to cut Vidal Riley down, it's going to give him a lot of opportunity to use the ring. However, like we found out today, it's a smaller ring than probably Vidal's used to be fighting, and it's the smallest they can get away with doing.
Okay, so I wonder how long this is going to last. McKenna is an intense guy, and Liam Smith has discovered that during fight week, and you have no choice really but to give that energy back. You can maybe laugh it off once and shrug and turn away, but if that's how they're going to come every time you see them, then you have to meet it, and Liam Smith has got absolutely no problem with that. Wide staring eyes there, a little shake of the head from Liam Smith, and I think McKenna's attitude, if you're Liam Smith, if you're in the kind of position that he's in, where you've been out of the ring for a long time, it's possible that you could take somebody like him a little bit lightly. It works for you because it makes sure that you don't, because you know that you've got someone in front of you who absolutely believes that they're taking you down.
Yeah, and you'd think this is the sort of fight that an Aaron McKenna needs to become a Liam Smith, to become one of the fighters that you start seeing pop up on the big name cards. I think right now he's been kind of, you know, working his way through the paces, but has he been anywhere that's prepared him for this level of jump up? I do think it's quite a big jump up from where he's been operating before against a former world champion and a world level fighter in Liam Smith.
So Anthony Yarde was quick to try and step to Yarde-Arthur there. It's interesting to hear him say that the first defeat still riles him up. It wasn't really expected at the time. It was a COVID show at the Church House in Westminster. I remember sitting at home and watching it, and what I saw was Yarde-Arthur winning the fight with his jab. I think he damaged his right hand about halfway through and couldn't really throw it for the rest of the fight. So essentially, he did win one-handed, really. Anthony Yarde didn't seem to be really aware that the fight was slipping away and seemed quite surprised at the split decision. He got revenge with the stoppage, but it's not over for him, is it? You could hear it when he was talking up there.
Yeah, I think Yarde jumped on him, didn't he, in the rematch, got on him early, and Yarde never... You know, I'm sorry, Yarde-Arthur never really got going in the fight. Yarde was dominant early. I think he'll start a lot more switched on this time, Arthur. I think he knows that he's got to watch out for Yarde jumping on him early doors. So, yeah, I think this could be... I think this fight will definitely go into the second half.
Yeah, it's that fear factor. You know what it's like when you get in a ring and you went 12 rounds with someone that didn't really hurt you, didn't really hit you too clean. You kind of go in there with that, oh, well, he's not going to do it this time. And I think Lyndon just went in with that wrong mindset where he weren't trying to keep the gap open, he weren't trying to box, he weren't really trying to use his jab. He was quite nice just sitting there and trying to take shots and throw a few shots back.
And the flip side of that, Yarde was so up for it because he got beaten the first time.
The complete opposite. Yeah. When before, Yarde was very nice to be patient, he was waiting, he was walking him down. He probably thought everything stacked here, it's behind closed doors. When a Warren show, he's the Warren's golden boy. He probably thought, even if it is close, I'm never not going to get it here. But I think the judges scored it perfectly, except for the 117, 111 Ian John Lewis card. I think the rest were bang on, and I think the right man definitely won. I was there that night, one of the only 20 people in the room, and it was honestly one of my favourite memories in boxing. We partied all night long.
Well, socially distanced, of course.
Socially distanced, of course. No one ever cares about that no more. We've gone past that time.
So, no, you're right. So, Eubank Jr. arriving a little while ago. So, what's happening now is that they'll just change the place names on those tables behind us. I think we're going to see Eubank Jr., Jonathan Banks, Ben Shalom, Ronnie Davis on his side of the table, and then on the Ben side, the two Bens, Conor and Nigel, Eddie Hearn and Tony Sims. That is going to be the lineup as I understand it. So they're just getting busy behind us, making sure that the furniture has been suitably rearranged. And Eubank was in control during the press tour when it came to these press conferences. I think he probably will look to try and run the show again. I wonder whether Eddie Hearn might have something ready for him when he tries to close him down again, which I'd imagine he probably will do. I wonder whether Conor will have anything up his sleeve, or whether he'll just think, you know what, this is the last time I'm going to have to do this with this guy. He is better at this than me. Let's just get this done, and then I won't have to tolerate this again, and then I can just look forward to the fight.
Yeah, I think especially on fight week, you have to pick your battles, and you have to pick them wisely. I think, just like you said, Conor Benn must know that this is his game, the sort of mind games, the wind-up, and when he's looking back, Chris Eubank, at the first press conference and seeing the pure anger in Conor Benn's face and the stills, we all saw them, he was smiling at that. He wasn't thinking, oh, look how angry Conor Benn got. He was thinking, look how angry Conor Benn got. And it makes him smile. So if I was Conor, yeah, headphones on as little as possible and leave it up to Chris. Look, you're telling everyone that you're the showman, you've been the villain, you've been able to do all of these things. We'll go and sell the show, superstar.
It's a bit like when you think to the Groves-Frutch rematch. I think Frutch looked back on the first one and realised, you know what, I let him pull me into his game. He's better at that game than me, and the only way to win is to not play. And the second time around, he just blanked it out, didn't he? And it worked for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did, and it was a smart move. I think he had a few sessions with a sports psychologist ahead of that rematch, and you're right, he just kind of withdrew. Well, this is them on the pitch after the press conference we had here a few weeks ago. As I said earlier, they approached each other from opposite ends of the pitch because 2 days previously they got close enough for Chris Eubank to crack an egg on the right-hand side of Conor Benn's face. And you can just see there that they're both slightly side on, their feet are set, which means that if you do get a shove, then you can soak it up, because the last thing you want is to end up on your back because you just look like an idiot. And that's something you really, really want to avoid. They were both ready for it there. I think Ben was kind of itching to do something, but at the same time, that ship had sort of sailed, hadn't it?
Yeah,
Eubank had beaten him to it.
We can see Eubank there getting side on, and even the fist clenched a little bit, thinking, I'm not going to do anything, but I don't want you ambushing me. And
he weren't letting him get even.
Exactly.
That's what he stood back. He stood back a little bit, and he thought, I'm not letting him get even. Conor was edging, and you could half see his hand wanting to go, but maybe thank the Lord that he didn't, because maybe we wouldn't be here tonight.
Yes, exactly. You do have to be sensible about these things, and they had them. They had the situation, I think, pretty much under control, but they'd have had a very long think about whether they did that at all, because it's easy for people watching on who maybe don't necessarily go to boxing all the time or don't spend time around fighters to think that, well, you know, nothing's going to happen. They're not going to jeopardise the fight. But with you lot, there is a line, and if the line gets crossed, then something has to happen. It's as simple as that. The circumstances can tend to go out of the window
if your adrenaline starts going, anything can happen, you know.
And unfortunately, you're in a room full of people that, because it's their job, aren't really scared of fighting. They're not really scared of the confrontation, the drama, if it goes off. If anything, there's probably a little bit in them kind of looking forward to it. You know, boxers, fighters, anyone that gets in the ring and puts their mind, their body and soul into just having a fight for people's entertainment and for better life prospects, they're not usually the most sane, wired people, because a lot of people, if you say, look, tomorrow, 9 p.m, you've got to fight someone. How many people are turning up that aren't a professional fighter?
Oh, I'm not coming. I'm not coming. I would say I was coming.
I wouldn't anymore.
I would say I was coming and then make other arrangements and leave the country, most likely. But that's one of the many reasons why I don't slide through the ropes. I stay on the safe side. And of course, the thing with this fight, like any sporting contest, when you have that kind of rivalry and that kind of bad blood that they have between them, then the stakes just get that much higher.
We've walked a similar path in the shadows of legends.
That's mental, that is. You've got Eubanks to sign it as well. Yeah, let me quickly scribble a bit.
They say lightning never strikes twice. I knew that the chances of me ever being able to make it in boxing were so slim that it's like, it wasn't even really worth me trying. I guess the sickness inside of me. Let me see how far I can get. But I've done that now.
Why do this to yourself? Because I love the challenge, the drive, the goals, the ambition, the fighting. As long as I reach my full potential and I can look back and go, I've done everything I could.
I don't have to fight now. I could retire tomorrow and I would be okay. But I don't want to be fine. I want to be excellent.
Before I even turned pro, it got mentioned. Irrelevant of how far apart we were in our careers when we first started, the gap seems to have closed very quickly, mainly because of all the work I've been doing.
He doesn't worry me. He doesn't scare me. I don't see him as a threat.
Well, you think I'm going to be a walk in the park?
I mean, yeah, on a nice summer's day. You got to prove me wrong.
I rise to the occasion every single time. I'm ready for this.
Life's a coat of many colors. It is never black and white. Can't have one without the other.
In my opinion, I'd stop him inside 8 rounds. I never do fancy my son. Trooping session.
I've said this and I believe I'll win by stoppage. Within 6.
If he's saying it's going to end in 6 rounds, then it will end in 6 rounds. He will end in 6 rounds.
Boy is in trouble. Yes! 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 Yes!
The dark without the light.
It gets the pulse racing, it really does, because you can see the antipathy between the pair of them. I remember it the first time around between the fathers, and it was absolutely everywhere. If you wanted to avoid it, which I absolutely didn't, then you couldn't, because it was on TV, it was on the radio, it was on the newspapers. They were on each other's minds 24 hours a day. Nigel-Ben couldn't really even bear to be in the same ring as Eubank Sr. The signing of the contract live on midweek TV was the most unbearably tense thing I think I've ever seen in a sporting environment. And you get the same vibe and electricity when you sit around these two when they're in the same space, because it's not manufactured, this, and it's not something they've just decided to try and create because they know that it'll sell and because of what happened between the two dads, because the dads are over it now. They've been over it for quite a long time, but it's happened with these two, and after the way the first fight didn't happen, it's just got worse.
Because we've probably missed millions of conversations that have happened where they're getting compared. From very early, you can imagine for Conor Benn, his career, his success, what he could go and do, would have been likened to that of Chris Eubank Jr. for no real reason. They weren't in the same weight. They come slightly at different times, but it was almost like, oh, well, your dad's fault. This is what his son is doing. What's your son going to do now? And it probably did give him a little fire burn where, if nothing else, I want to be better than my dad's rival's son. And they've probably gravitated over the years closer and closer and closer to the potential of it actually happening, but probably more from forces that, well, just everyone else's opinion, all the talking points, the amount of times their names are getting mentioned, the old fights getting brought up. And it seems like a lifetime ago seeing Conor Benn spring onto the scene around the same time my brother was coming up. And now look, we're here.
Well, what's interesting too, Matt, is that they're just so similar to their fathers in terms of their mentality and their personality, and I don't think they've really tried to work on that. Eubank Jr., ever since he's been boxing, has been like that. He is his own man, but at the same time, the way that he goes about things, there are just so many echoes of Senior. And with Conor Benn and Nigel-Ben, we had Nigel on the stream yesterday, and you're almost talking to the same person just 30 years apart. They're very honest, they're very open, they're quite emotional. The differences are minimal.
Yeah, well, Chris Eubank Jr. is his own man, but his old man was his own man, you know, and that, he's like him in that way as well. And the same with Conor Benn, with Nigel. You know, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, does it? You can see that their dads were their heroes, and they wanted to emulate them and be like them, and you know, and even aside from what they want, and you know, following the role model of the dads, their fathers, genetics are a real thing, aren't they? You know, like you can see Conor Benn, he's got that kind of explosive power that Nigel had. You know, now whether it's the same, who knows? But like he's had some big knockouts. He's stepped up in weight. he's going in against Eubank Jr, who again, you'd say inherited his father's granite chin up until the Liam Smith fight. We've never seen any sort of chinks in that. He's taking big shots off the likes of George Groves and, you know, looks solid whiskers. So, you know, there are similarities from the father to the son, lots of them. And the fact that they don't like each other and clash personality-wise with each other, the sons, similar again.
Okay, let's have a look at this clip. This just shows... This is pure Eubank. There was a good angle of that, actually. One of the snappers, one of the photographers caught a good angle of that, and you could just see the kind of brief but very visible loathing in the eyes of both as they just caught each other's gaze. We're not far away now. Conor Benn has arrived on the far side of the stage. I think Michael Buffer is going to join us to announce this one, as is fitting for such a big fight. And it must be a relief to the two of them that after what happened the first time around, it's Thursday now. This is going to happen. They've got a weigh-in tomorrow, of course, and then they'll have another weigh-in on Saturday morning. But we're getting to the point now where all of this stuff is nearly over, and the reality that they are going to fight is hitting them.
Yeah, and I think as it's getting closer, I'm thinking, what impact would the scoreline have on the Benn family, the Benn mission to win this fight? I mean, as it stands, it's what, 1 win for Eubank and 1 draw. So you would think that this leveling the scoreboard sort of perfectly would mean a hell of a lot more for the Benn family right now. Look, they don't want to be 2 losses and a draw for the overall scoreboard, and I think it's probably why it was chased by so much for Benn, and why it was sort of pedestaled, the idea of sort of getting the family pride back, really. Look, I know I just went through it at a much smaller scale with the Yafais, and it was sad that our name came out as the second. And look, the Yafai, all 3 of the brothers are great fighters, but our names were linked together so long that it's something now that is probably going to sit with me forever. And I can only imagine it has. The forever's already been for Conor Benn. The forever's already been the Eubank sort of win, really, from the fathers fighting. And yeah, you can just imagine that it's probably something that he's dreamed of, really, Conor Benn.
These kinds of rivalries as well, Matt, they seem so natural and they seem so obvious, but sometimes they don't end up happening. There was a load of you at middleweight when you were boxing. You, Darren Barker, who's just over there with DAZN, Andy Lee, Martin Murray. Of course you were all going to fight each other. You'd have a round robin. It was going to be brilliant. You'd all make tons of cash and some acrimony and all the rest of it, and it never happened. It doesn't always happen. You can't take it for granted that it will happen. And I don't think either one of these two, when they're preparing in camp, obviously you're dialed in, but I do think in the back of their minds they've always been wondering whether this is something that would actually happen.
No, there's rivalries occur within boxing that you think are natural, that these fights surely must happen, but you know, the finances don't come together, or the timing or there's different contracts with different channels or deals, and it doesn't always, that, like I said, there's fights that you look, that's a natural, that don't always happen.
Or usually one side don't want it, man. That's usually the reason why it don't happen.
Or that, but like you look at this one and, you know, it fell away, didn't it? And here we are 2.5 years down the line now, and we're a few days away and it's going to happen. Yeah, I think we're just all excited now to see them finally get in there, get it on.
Do you think the delay, who do you think it favours?
I think
Conor Benn, I think.
Yeah, I think it definitely helps his cause. I just don't know if the delay will be enough. I think, look, you spend 2.5 years getting ready for, you know, the move up in weight, but he's not just had 2.5 years of peace. He's had 2.5 years of trying to save his reputation. He's had 2.5 years of trying to prove his innocence, going through courts, 300-page documents, board, UCAD. Everyone at some point seemed to get dragged and involved. And not only that, a massive event that had a date that should have happened and should have been massive in both fighters' families never did. So it's almost been just like a cloud looming over. I can imagine the pair of them, but you would think a lot more present for Conor Benn.
In terms of when they find themselves standing backstage, waiting to make that walk up to the back of the curtain, to the back of the ramp and ring walk tomorrow, what will that be like, do you think? Because I'm kind of interested in the receptions, but then again, do they care? Do you even hear that when it's really a big fight?
So you can hear noise. You kind of throw off that energy, but I don't think you can't. I couldn't anyway hear specific voices, or I could just hear a noise, a sound, but I couldn't specify what it was. It's just energy which you use to fuel you and motivate you, etc. But you're very much tunnel visioned. You block it out and you're just focused on, you know, your game plan, your tactics, what you need to do, and it's very single-minded.
Yeah, but one thing I will say, that moment you just described there, Andy, was genuinely my favourite moment of boxing, especially as the shows were getting bigger. You know, just when you get behind the curtains, your team started walking to the ring, you might have one person with you, you might be on your own. But you know that moment when you're walking into the venue, there's a big black sheet that you can't see past, but you can just see some people, some of the fans sitting up. That moment there will be where it all comes real. That's where both of them will be alone with their thoughts, and they've accepted the train's coming, it's this time and we're getting in, and the rest is really unwritten. And that moment there is so magical, and I think for this fight, this event, I'm jealous of both of the fighters on the Saturday night, really.
That's one of my favourite bits, actually, is that backstage ring walk, where, as you say, your team has probably left you, you're by yourself, and it's amazing how quiet it can be, just kind of slightly in the bowels of a stadium compared to when you get outside. Frotch always describes it as the Green Mile, doesn't he? You walk the Green Mile. But he was a really nervous fighter. You know, each individual is different, and you are alone with your thoughts. And now is not the time to start doubting yourself.
I don't know about you, Sonny, but when the whip comes and bangs on the door and go, right, that, you know, you got 2 minutes, 5 minutes, you know, and the adrenaline's pumping up and it's getting there, and then the trainer takes the pads off. That's that time you're going to hit the pads, then you're putting the gown on. But when they come and bang that door and it's time to walk out, boom, 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 that's when the heart really starts.
And then everyone in the change room starts making some noise. Come on, let's go.
Oh,
that moment, if you could...
I'm getting it now.
I was getting goosebumps you just describing it. If you can bottle that, if you could bottle that moment up, that feeling, we'd be drinking it forever.
Yeah, man.
Oh, there's nothing like it. There's absolutely nothing like it at ringside when you're waiting for it. It's entirely possible, of course, that people will try and play games when it comes to the ring walks.
Slight
with
delay.
Other people's ring walk music. In the first fight between Eubank and Ben, it was late at the NEC going to the ring because I think Team Ben had sabotaged Eubank's ring walk music, and in the end I think he walked out without any. He didn't get simply the best, or it might have been one of those situations where we could hear it on TV but they didn't have it in the arena. You get that sometimes, and they'd written a rude message on his raps as well. So there was all sorts going on behind the scenes. But Conor Benn will walk first because he's on the right-hand side of the bill. I'd imagine he'll be pretty prompt. There's not any real reason if you're walking first why you would keep anyone waiting. But I think they'll be ready, won't they, Team Ben, to be kept waiting in the ring. So I'm sure they'll have something prepared to make sure they keep him loose and keep him switched on.
Well, sometimes that who walks first and who's on the poster, it can differ. I remember when I fought against Bam Rodriguez, I was second, but because the conversation was both home fighters, we made it 50-50. I walked second. I had 2 ring walk songs. I had it starting from the changing room to get in place, and then I had another one to get there. He was in the ring for about 10-15 minutes, to be honest. Well, didn't do me any good, though.
Well, I remember when I fought Felix Sturm, they kept me waiting in the ring for like 15 minutes, but I knew they were going to do that, you know, get you cooled down, so I was doing some pads on, you know what I mean, just to get warm, stay warm.
Well, they will be. They will have to make sure that they have something ready, and it's going to be cold as well. It's only freezing. I looked at the weather. It looks pretty good. I think it's going to be dry from about 8 o'clock onwards, famous last words. And it'll be, I don't know, 13, 14, 15 degrees, something like that. So you might want to wrap up, Macklin. That's not going to do it at all.
And
but just behind us, Chris Eubank is making his way to the stage. So they might bring a big coat, something out there just to keep Conor Benn warm. You know, you've got to make sure that you're ready for.
I'm going to stay in this t-shirt just to prove how hard I am.
Let's just hope they've got, 50, 60,000 rain mats just in case, boys. Definitely. Let's hope. For the ringside ones that are lucky enough to be sat in those seats.
OK, so Michael Buffer is strolling to the middle of the stage, the Silver Fox himself, and everybody else is in place, the 2 fighters either side of the stage. And Michael will be introducing them to their seats, and we will see what we get from these two for the final time as they lock horns verbally. It's Eubank who's had the better of these exchanges. I wonder whether he's got something up his sleeve for this one. They are both, of course, yet to make weight, something that we believe, well, we know, let's be real, is much more difficult for Eubank than it's going to be for Conor Benn, and that can obviously affect your energy during fight week. Okay, there's Michael Buffer. I'll just pause now, and we'll wait for the great man to take it away.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the final press conference for the big event coming up this Saturday, April 26th, right here in London at sold-out Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's the Fatal Fury main event. On top of the card, a great night of world-class professional boxing for your entertainment. And it's all brought to you by the Bible of Boxing, Ring Magazine, along with SNK Corporation, publisher of the combat video game Fatal Fury City of Wolves, and Eddie Hearn for Matchroom Boxing, Ben Shalom for Boxer, and Box Raw. Sponsorship provided by the Public Investment Fund, Visit Saudi, STC, SRMG, Dr. Suleiman Al Habib Medical Group, Saudia, the national airline of Saudi Arabia, Jeddah Season, Milaf Cola, Visit Qatar, Core Group, Desert, NHC, Jocko, Sky, Arab National Bank, First Data, Sella, and SMC. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this Saturday night, April 26th, at sold-out Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, London, broadcast live worldwide on DAZN and on Sky Sports box office in the UK, also available on DAZN in the United Kingdom. It's the main event of the evening. 12 rounds of boxing in the middleweight division, on the line, legacy, and perhaps more important than anything, bragging rights. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring the fighters to the stage and to their seats for this final press conference. Introducing first, with a professional record, a perfect one. 23 fights, 23 victories, including 14 wins by knockout. From London, England, he's the European Continental welterweight.
He might find me enough, they may have to add me to the undercard by the end of this press conference. But, you know, I just want to say in closing, it's going to be a massive event. I look forward to this fight. And, you know, we have the stadium, and we have the fighters here, and we've even had the eggs. So we're ready. Let's go.
Okay, Rick, thank you very much. That was fantastic. Great way to kick things off here. Rick Reno of Ring Magazine. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to dive straight in with the teams. First of all, down there to my right, Jonathan Banks, Team Eubank. Jonathan, you've worked with some greats of this sport, Vladimir Klitschko, Gennady Golovkin, but in your time with this man, Chris Eubank Jr., in comparison to those greats, what have you always admired about this man's discipline, dedication, mindset, and most of all, ability?
Well, you pretty much just said it. That's what I admire about it. A lot of the greats have one thing in common, and most of it is the discipline and what they're willing to sacrifice, not only to the sport, but to stay in the sport. So me and Chris, we had a wonderful camp, and he just, day to day, after day, he was able to show how dedicated he is to the sport, how disciplined he is to continue to pretty much stay in the gym day in and day out to prepare for this show.
And I know you respect Conor Benn, but as a student of the game, ultimately, what do you believe sets aside Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn this weekend?
As a student of the game, number one, I respect any person that make up in their mind to put a pair of gloves on and defend themselves, whether it's 10 rounds, 8 rounds, or 6 rounds, because it takes a certain type of mental fortitude to be able to do that. And in no way in the world should that be underestimated. But even with that, I think what separates what we have going on, meaning with Chris Eubank, is his mentality. It's a little bit different, and I do believe that with that mentality, along with that work ethic that he has,
it's gonna be the separation between the two.
Okay, Jonathan, thank you very much. We're going to hear from Team Ben as well, Mr. Tony Sims. Tony, when you think about your relationship with Conor Benn when he walked into the gym as a raw novice to where he is now on the grandest of stages, what makes this personal journey between you and Conor a special one when you see all of this?
Yeah, as you say, coming to the gym as a 19-year-old teenager, he was a raw talent then, and obviously every fight that he's been in, he's been under the spotlight, and we've all watched as his talents grew, and like you say, he's here now in probably the biggest fight in boxing, certainly the biggest British fight in boxing, and you know, it'll be tuned all around the world. Everyone around the world will be watching this fight and in this magnificent stadium.
And it's 1-0 to the Eubanks, one draw, of course. How do you believe your man settles that score on Saturday night?
Yeah, well, every expert, so-called expert that I listen to or watch on social media are all favouring Chris Eubank Jr to win the fight, because obviously they're saying that Conor's at a disadvantage moving up 2 weights, and Chris is going to be too big for him and too skillful for him. But I do believe that Conor Benn carries the power up from welterweight to middleweight. I believe he's got the speed, and I believe in him himself that he wants this fight really badly, and obviously he's been through 2 years of hell. Over that course of time, he's gone from being a boy to a man, and we've seen in this camp that we've had 8 weeks in Palma, Mallorca. You know, I know every trainer says the camp's gone, we've had a great camp, the camp's gone fantastic, but we really have, and he's excelled in his training and everything he's done, times on his running, his S&C, his rounds in the gym. He's been incredible. He's had world-level sparring. All the sparring partners we've brought in are all top world-level fighters, and he really has looked fantastic in sparring. And, you know, I believe in him, and I believe that he will come out victorious on Saturday night. And like I said earlier, he's been through 2 years, and sometimes things happen for a reason. We don't know why at the time, but God has a way of looking down, and things happen for a reason. He's been through hell for 2 years. But sometimes you have to go through these things to come out on top at the end, and I believe that Conor Benn, this is going to be his destiny. Saturday night will be his destiny, and I believe that he's going to win this fight.
Okay, Tony Sims, thank you very much. Back to Team Eubank. And the great Ronnie Davis is here. Ronnie, fantastic to have you here with us. You were, of course, in the corner for Chris Eubank Sr against Nigel Benn. Both fights, November 1990 in Birmingham, October 93 at Old Trafford. But Chris Eubank Jr here is someone you've known for his whole life. You were in the hospital the day he was born, when he walked into your gym for you to officially start training him at the age of 16. I'm going to ask you a similar question that I asked Tony. How proud are you of Chris Eubank Jr and the man he has become?
Yeah, I'm obviously very proud of the kid. He's done great. He's been through some hard times, but he's like his father. Nothing beats him mentally or physically. I always thought he was world class. When I first saw his father come in the gym, and I looked at him straight away, and I've been in this game a long time, and I thought about the same. The same with him. He's a brilliant kid. He'll beat Conor, no disrespect to the other team, Tony and everyone, but he's too good for you, Conor, but I wish him the best of luck. That's all I can say.
The great Ronnie Davis, ladies and gentlemen, here with us today. And we're going to hear quickly as well from the promoters on either side. Firstly, Ben Shalom. Ben, here we go. This is it. You were just talking to me off stage there. A lot of hard work behind the scenes, but we're here now. Not long to go until what we're all waiting for, the sound of that opening bell. Make your case
for your man?
I can't quite believe we're here. It's been a long road. It's almost a pinch yourself moment. Eubank-Ben 3, October '93. That was the month that I was born in Manchester, and now we're here, part of the biggest British boxing story ever. It's an amazing feeling to be here. I think everyone's going to remember this event. Just look at the media attention here today. I've never seen anything quite like it, but for me it's because of Chris Eubank Jr, the biggest name in British boxing outside of that heavyweight division. He's a huge star, and I think, to be honest, it's those big nights that he's been in, it's those big fights that he's had that is going to see him through on Saturday night. It's a monumental event. It's the first Ring Magazine event as well, so to see them put this on, a sold-out Tottenham Hotspur straight off the bat, it's incredible. Thank you to our partners, Matchroom, and thank you to the Ring Magazine, thank you to His Excellency, but most of all, thank you to Chris Eubank Jr for making this event what it is, and I'm looking forward to an absolute statement on Saturday night.
Ben, thank you. Absolute statement. Promoter Eddie Hearn, over to you to make your case for Conor Benn this weekend.
Yeah, just a few thank yous. Thanks to Rick for... I knew this was coming. Do you know what I've been thinking?
Was coming.
Do you know what I've been thinking? Can I not even say a few thank yous, or...?
No.
Okay, Matchroom have to speak, right? So I'm going to switch it up. I'm just going to firstly say how proud I am of Conor Benn, what he's been through these last 2 years, and I can't wait for him to smash you to pieces on Saturday night. But Matchroom have to be represented, so I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to let someone else speak on my behalf. I'm going to let someone else speak on my behalf.
You don't have to.
I'm going to introduce you to scumbag number 2, Frank Smith. Come and take over.
You don't have to be.
Okay.
Hello?
Substitution.
Chris? Good. Frank, if Eddie's not speaking, do you think you're going to get a word in? Come on.
No, but I don't speak as long as he does. That's the one thing I'll give you. I'll be very quick.
We're going to have some parliamentary procedure today, and anything that Matchroom, Eddie Hearn or Frank Smith have to say is irrelevant and will not be heard.
Thank you very much, Chris. Appreciate your kind introduction.
No problem.
Appreciate it. Look, I'm going to be very quick because I don't want to get cut off too many times. I'm going to be very quick, Chris. Don't worry.
Say anything.
Chris, don't worry. Well, I'm saying something, aren't I? So, you know, it seems to be working so far. Thanks very much, Chris. Chris, sorry, I can't hear you.
If I direct a question to you or to Eddie, then you can speak.
That's very honourable of you.
Outside of that, I don't want to hear a peep. And if
Thank you very much.
Talk to me, or if you try and do your little speeches to the media, I'm going to shut it down. Because guess what? People aren't here to listen to you already speak. They want to hear what me and Conor have to say.
I don't disagree with that, but people weren't here to hear your promoter speak, but you allowed him to speak.
You're not going to out-talk me. You're not going to...
No, I wouldn't dare out-talk you. I know I can't out-talk you, Chris.
Exactly.
You're a very good talker.
I don't know why you're on the stage, but you should probably get Eddie back in.
It was just to help with my profile.
You've got a better chance to say anything than you do, trust me.
Oh, really?
Eddie's irrelevant, but you are...
Super irrelevant.
Exactly.
I know. I know. I'm so irrelevant. You called me a scumbag in a press conference. It was nice of you to bring up my name. Thank you very much. But anyway, I'm going to be very quick. I've been lucky enough to work with Conor Benn for many, many years. Thank you, Chris. I'm talking.
That you're going to say here that are going to fucking get past the fact that I've said you're not speaking.
Okay.
We can do the back and forth, so it can get boring.
It could get very boring, so I'll end it here.
Get boring.
I can't wait for Saturday night. It's going to be a great night. Thank you to the Ring Magazine. Thank you to Turkey Al Sheikh. That shut you up, didn't it? Thanks very much.
2 words in. Everybody. He tried his best.
Thank you very much for immensely helping my profile. Thank you. I'll pass it on now to people more important than myself.
Okay.
And thank you for having me up here.
And just before we hear, of course, from Chris and Conor, 2-weight world champion, Mr. Nigel Benn, is in the house here as well this evening. Nigel, this is what you and Chris Eubank Sr. started.
Yep.
And here we are, 32 years on after your last meeting. Your sons relight the flame once again. Yep. What are your thoughts, your feelings? What's been, as well, the biggest piece of advice you've passed on to Conor this week?
Do you know what? I watched him. You know the saying goes, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But what happens in Mallorca, I'm telling. I am telling. And I'll tell you about Conor's sparring, and God is my witness.
First, he started sparring with Denzel Bentley, super middleweight, but really at light heavy. Had his hands full with Conor. I mean, Conor was just going through it, 10 rounds, done it easy. Then he was sparring with a guy that knocked out Munguia, Bruno, I can't remember his last name, Suarez. Been sparring with him, another light heavy. Conor was bullying him around. And then to put the cherry on top, he started sparring with a guy called William Skull, an IBF champion, who's fighting a week after Conor. Coming there 12-handed. Shouldn't say it, but you know what? Because for the last 2 years, all I've been hearing negative, I'm going to tell you about my son. First 4 rounds, him and Conor were even Stevens, and they were going, oh, perfecto, 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 every time he was hitting Conor. Conor was just walking him down. Then about round, I think 5, he was up, no, because Conor only has 40 seconds rest. And then what he was doing in between the middle of the rounds, he was sitting on the rope because he was tired. Then it came to round 5, 6, 7, started feeling the pace. This is William Skull, IBF champion.
Superstar.
And then after that, no, you can't shut me up, mate, because you ain't been where I've been, mate. Behave yourself. But anyway, but then what happened, round 8 came.
Uh-oh.
And then, Tony, we looked at each other and we thought, he just quit. He just stopped. Couldn't take no more. After 8 rounds, meant to be doing 10 rounds. And me and Tony looked at each other and think, what the friggin' hell just happened there? And I got my boy and I thought, my little boy. He just damaged the IBF world champion. And you know what it is? I am so confident this don't go past 4 rounds. I know my son. Back him all the way. And Conor's not a 12-round fighter. He's an old school fighter that can do 15 rounds. But you're going to see him, mate, the power that he's got. No one ain't seen him for the last 2 years. Oh my gosh. You lot are in for a treat. Mark my word. You are in for a big, big treat. Thank you all very much.
Nigel Benn, 2-weight world champion, thank you very much. Well, here we go then. Let's hear from the fighters, both sides of Saturday's main event. Firstly, Mr. Chris Eubank Jr. Chris, you told the DAZN broadcast this week that you are at peace. There is no chip on your shoulder. Despite all of this and everything that is seemingly at stake on Saturday night, what is helping you to have that feeling of tranquility right now?
I know what's coming. I prepared my whole life for these moments. I've put the time in. I've dedicated decades to this sport. And I've done it all without cheating, without cutting any corners. And I'm proud of that. The mentality I have, the experience I have, the fortitude, and the will is what I will be using on the night to take out my adversary in Conor Benn.
Conor, you've been on big stages, under the spotlight, since you turned professional. For both of you, big shoes to fill. But on Saturday night, when you ring walk in front of over 65,000 fans and everything that's on the line, how have you remained in control of your emotions on a week like this?
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is what I do. I love this game. This is what I live for. You know, this is every fighter's dream when they turn professional to live this life. You know, there was no more pressure than a 19-year-old kid with no amateur experience walking out to a packed O2 arena. That's pressure. You know, I've been doing this for 10 years and you know, I'm more than prepared, more than ready. You know, I wish it was Saturday night tonight.
Chris, you have said the procedure will be parliamentary. You know what that means, but for those of us who don't know, can you paint that in a picture for us. What does that look like on Saturday night?
Conor speaks about pressure and dealing with it, but there's a reason why he had his training camp in Spain. The kid had to flee his own country to prepare for this fight. He knew that he couldn't handle the pressure of, walking these UK streets and having people shouting out drug cheat and egg jokes. He didn't want to be involved in any of that. So he took himself away, he hid away, and, now he's back, and now he thinks he can use me to kind of get back into the good graces. I haven't fled. I haven't hid away from anything. I've been in these streets. I've been to gyms all over London over the last 2 months. I've been and spoke to kids. I've done all the media obligations I've needed to do around the country. I've felt the energy on the streets of the UK over these last 2 months, and it's real. People are invested in this. Everywhere I go, people are screaming, and most of the time it's positive, which it's a new thing for me. I'm still getting used to that, but I am happy with the place I am at mentally. I don't think Conor can say the same thing. I think he's feeling the pressure and the heat. I think he's feeling that, and he's going to feel a hell of a lot more in a couple of days' time.
If the procedure is to be parliamentary, Conor, what's on your manifesto of what happens? And in response to Chris, are you feeling the pressure?
No pressure. I live for this. I've had the fight over 100 times in my head. For me, it's just focusing on the training, removing myself from my comfort zones, my familiarities, my family, and, fully dialing in. I'm not going to lower myself to Chris and go back and forth and, all that PR's done. I'm excited to get in there and put my hands on him Saturday night, irrelevant of all the rubbish he wants to talk and names and, we're not at school. And come Saturday night, I get to put my hands on him.
You will be at school on Saturday, my friend. I'm taking you right to school.
Well done, you.
At school, I'm going to be the headmaster, my friend.
Yeah.
And you will be in detention.
You are funny, Chris. You made me laugh. Just focus on getting away off, fat boy.
Weight. What's weight? Weight is, everyone always talking about this weight thing. Yeah. The weight is painful.
Yeah, good.
I'm in pain right now. I'll be in even more pain tonight and tomorrow morning.
And the worst pain you've ever experienced comes Saturday night. I promise you that right now.
The question I ask myself is, what is pain?
Oh, shut up.
No, I'm serious. What is it?
Oh, shut up.
What is it? I have a 31-year-old brother. He's buried in the desert in Dubai. That's pain. I have his son, Raheem, 3 years old. He asks, why can't I see my daddy? Why doesn't he take me to school? That's pain. My own father, a man I idolized for my entire life, and he doesn't speak to me. We haven't spoken for years, and he thinks I'm a disgrace. These things are what pain is to me. And if I can deal with all of these trials and tribulations, then the weight cut and the rehydration clause, these are all things that are not an issue. They are not important.
Chris, in the build-up to the original date, you said 60% is what you'll be and 60% will be enough. What percent will you be on Saturday, and what percent will be enough to beat Conor Benn?
Yeah, we're not doing the percentages anymore. That was for the first time around before Conor got caught cheating. Now it's about, preparing to get this kid out of boxing. We're not taking him lightly anymore. You know, he should have taken the chance he had in that first fight. When I was underestimating, when I was, you know, playing, when I was taking him lightly, that was his best shot. And now it's gone, because now I have a duty to boxing, to the public, to the fans who he's lied to, who Eddie Hearn's lied to for the last 2-3 years. I have a duty to erase these guys from the picture.
Conor, the Ring magazine reported in the last couple of hours that you have requested for Billy Joe Saunders to inspect the wraps of Chris Eubank Jr. on Saturday night. Is that true?
Don't all surprises, Jamie.
Well, the Ring magazine reported it before.
Maybe not.
What do you make of that, Chris?
It's irrelevant. Hand wraps is not going to save Conor Benn from the arse kicking he's about to receive.
Ooh, scary. Ooh.
Conor, hearing you speak this week, you say what gets you out of bed on those early morning runs, it's the fear of losing to another man. What about the fear of losing to this man, Chris Eubank Jr.?
Listen, it's always personal. I'm a very emotional fighter. You know, I fight with my heart on my sleeve, and it's the way I've been my whole career. It's the only way I know. So for me, you know, he is another man. Yes, his name is Eubank, and I won't be losing to a fighter whose name's Eubank, especially not this man.
He says he has no game plan, Chris, just a hop, skip and a right hand, and that'll be all she wrote. Do you believe him?
No, I don't. But that's the beautiful thing about this sport. That doesn't matter what you believe. All that matters is what actually happens once that bell goes, and nobody knows what's going to happen until it happens. What I do know is whatever strategy, whatever game plan these people have come up with, nothing will prepare them for the fire that they're going to receive in a couple of days' time.
Final one to you, Chris. You did say it's impossible that this fight goes 12 rounds. As a final message, how do you beat Conor Benn on Saturday night in the dream scenario?
How do I beat Conor Benn? Any way I want to. You know, it's not about strength and speed and age and weight, all the things that you guys love to talk about. It's about dedication. It's about paying, who's paid their dues and who's done it clean, who's dedicated their life, who's real and who's fake. And I believe all of those categories are in my favor.
And Conor, final one to yourself. You've told us no game plan. You don't need a game plan. When that opening bell rings here at Tottenham Hotspur,
Right.
what happens?
Yeah, I'm coming here to take his head off.
And just finally, Chris, Eubank supremacy. That's what you've kept talking about in the build-up to this fight. You can cement that on Saturday. Is that part of what comes with all of this occasion for you as well, personally?
Legacy indeed. I'm confident. You know, I still want that £1 million bet that Eddie Hearn said he wanted to do. Eddie, what's up, man? We gonna put the mill on or what? Well, I asked you a question, so of course, get on the stage and answer.
Yeah, I'll talk. Firstly, I want to say how proud I am of Conor.
No. When I said talk, I mean answer the question.
Have a day off, mate.
Are you going to fulfill the bet, or are you going to run away like the weasel that you are? I tell you what. So his excuse at the moment is he's going to get fined £100,000 by the board if he bets, and that's why he can't bet me this £1 million that he said publicly that he wanted to do. So how about I make it easier for you, and I'll put $1 million up, and you put 900,000 up, so I've covered the 100K fine that you're going to get that you can't afford to pay, and let's get it on that way. Let's put the money in escrow tonight, and winner takes all on Saturday. How about that?
As I said to your promoter over there, we'll have a conversation with Mr. Smith. If I won't face any penalties on my licence, we can consider it. In the meantime, get back to the hotel, take that weight off, and get prepared to get an absolute spanking on Saturday night at Tottenham Hotspur.
That's what I thought. Always a way to weasel your way out of what you're supposed to be doing, which is honouring your word.
Okay, if Eddie won, Frank Smith, maybe you can.
What?
The bet?
I haven't got £1 million, mate. Do you think I'd be up here doing this? I'd be on a beach somewhere if I had that much money.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude the final press conference. Nearly time for the sound of that opening bell Saturday night. Chris Eubank Jr versus Conor Benn. We're going to pose now for the face-offs. Thank you very much.
So there you go, the press conference complete. That was good. That was good. I enjoyed that. It was spiky a lot of the way through. It was humorous in places, quite deep in other places as well, when Eubank was talking about his late brother and Raheem, the young son that he left behind. I have to say, very strong start by our ring comrade Rick Reno. He kind of set a hot pace there, didn't he? Came out of the blocks absolutely knees pumping there, Reno. He really did, and everybody else had to follow him.
I was thinking, this is a haggler. This can't go past 3 rounds.
But it was good, Sonny, wasn't it? You know, there was plenty in there. Because with boxing's a really serious sport. We know what can happen in there. It's too serious to be too serious all the time. And that was an enjoyable press conference.
100%. And it's crazy to me that we're talking about Reno. Someone that started a boxing website has now got a job somewhere else and is coming on giving the biggest promoters in the world stick. It blows my mind. And whoever did pay him and encourage him to say that, there's probably 10,000 people in boxing that will do a 10,000 times job better than what he was doing. I can't lie, he aggravated me the life out of me.
Well, he stood between the two fighters there as they're posing for the pictures with that Ring magazine bell. Conor Benn, as we expected, didn't really engage, and I think that was the right thing to do. Eubank had plenty to say. He did what we expected him to do with Eddie Hearn and shouted him down quite successfully. Frank Smith had a go and manfully persevered, and I think they kind of got their message across, but they knew that it was coming. Both of these two just leaning into this, and plenty of security surrounding them. Eddie Hearn just watching on with a smile on his face.
I wonder how long this one's going to go for. I don't think either guy there is going to back down first.
Well, it's a similar kind of setting, actually, to Fury Usyk in terms of how congested it is up there, how many people there are around them. And this will go on really as long as they decide that it will, because as we've discussed a few times since that Fury Usyk face-off, once it gets past 30, 40 seconds, certainly a minute, there's not much you can do. Rick's going to try and break this up now, but good luck with that, because if they don't want to break the gaze, then it's going to be very difficult to make them do it. And people putting hands up and all the rest of it, it doesn't really work. It's going to take somebody to step in front of them like the security guy is there and just ease them backwards. That's the way to do it, just ease them backwards, so bit by bit they get further and further away, and then eventually you're far enough away that that gaze is just naturally lost. I think lessons have been learned there by the security guys from Fury Usyk, because it's the same company who deals with it.
Otherwise we'll be here all night.
Otherwise we would be here all night.
Look at the scour on Ben's face, and you can see, I think right now in these shots you can see not only has he already taken some weight off, he's still got a bit more to do, Chris. I think he's going to be straight to whatever hot room or treadmill or whatever he does to get it off. He needs to get there, he needs to get there quick. Conor looks very good, very strong and full of energy today.
Yeah. So they're departing the stage now, and it passed off pretty much without incident, but it was what you wanted. It was close to the bone at times. Everybody had their say. Some spoke at more length than others. Jonathan Banks didn't go on too long. Same thing for Tony Sims. Nigel Benn was keen, as he was when he spoke to us yesterday, to tell everybody about the sparring. And then we had the kind of more comedy turn between Eubank and Matchroom. But as I said, he gave some interesting answers there, Eubank, when he was asked about pain, and he talked about other things in his life that have caused him pain. And that's how he really signifies the word. And That's kind of true of all of you, really, isn't it? None of you are afraid of physical pain. That's not something that bothers you at all. But one thing he will be afraid of on Saturday will be the pain of defeat and the shame and the humiliation that will come with it in these circumstances, because that is what they're looking at for the loser.
And what a good speaker, because when he kind of changed the tone to making everyone laugh and the ad-libs in between what other people on the stage were saying, when he sort of broke down pain for a moment, I don't know about anyone else in the room, but it kind of hit me in the chest. It was, no, he's right. Everything that he's doing, this is sport, this is making weight. Such things have been made on this when, compared to what he feels like he's been through in his life, none of that means anything.
No, it pales into insignificance, doesn't it? And he was. And you're right, I think the tone of the energy in the room definitely come down a bit, didn't it? It was like everyone was listening to him.
So Eubank sticking around to do a few interviews or just one kind of media scrum. I think Conor Benn has made his way out of the building. I think he'll be pleased that this is all over now. He didn't invest any energy in that, really. I wouldn't say that he wasted too much energy. He just said what he wanted to say and left Eubank to it for the most part. But that is a proper stare down. And interesting, I think, that Eubank is just kind of tilting the head and looking down on him there. I wonder if that's kind of a deliberate thing, because he is the taller one of the two, and he's just maybe imposing a slight bit of body language there by doing that. But these two are bang up for it, aren't they? There's no better phrase to describe it. They are ready.
In the change rooms on the night, it won't be a case of firing either guy up. It'll be a case of keeping their heads cool, making sure that they don't get overwhelmed, so they don't get too emotional.
And the people around them, the camps, the teams, the family, everyone's sort of been dragged into how big this fight is and how much it means to the fighters, to the families, to their whole career, really. You would think, no matter where they go from here, this will probably be a legacy-defining fight for both of them. It'll probably blow what's to come, maybe potentially, out of the water, because who else could they fight in the future that's going to garner as much attention, as much animosity, as much history that goes into the fight?
That's absolutely true. So just a final question for the pair of you. These next couple of nights they got ahead of them now. They've got to make weight, of course, and then they've got the rehydration, so they've essentially got to do it twice. They've got to do it tonight, they've got to do it tomorrow night. We expect that that's more comfortable for Ben than it is for Eubank. These final couple of nights, though, what's it like? Because you're zeroing in and the time is at hand now. You can't say, well, it's a few days away now. This is the business end.
Well, tonight, for Eubank, it'll be
a sleepless night.
Sleepless night. He'll be lying in bed, mouth dry, belly hungry. To be honest, you get past the hunger. Once you're in that thirsty stage, the hunger's secondary, isn't it? So, you know, he'll be thirsty, he'll be dry. But he'll also know that this is just part of it. He's been through it before. It's not his first time doing it. And then I think once he's made weight, I don't know about you, son. Once I've made weight, I don't even think about the fight.
It's like the party starts. It's like fireworks go straight up. It's like just eating and being able... Do you know when you're that close and then you've made weight and you've got to wait for the hours to roll by and you're sat there deeply thinking about all the times you didn't drink a bottle of water in the last 3 months? It's crazy the mindset that making weight puts you in, and then as soon as you get off the scales, it's kind of like a relief, for like a freedom almost.
And the night before a fight was probably the best night's sleep I've had in 3 or 4 months.
The night before the fight, but the night of before the weigh-in, that's usually the worst one you've had in 3 or 4 months, because the closer and drier you are, you'll think you've fallen asleep and you'll think you've been asleep for hours. You blink up and it's been 40 minutes. And you've still got 10 hours on waiting for the morning to come round, and it can be held depending on how tight it is. And you know, I think what we know about Chris Eubank, his size, this is probably going to be a very rough fight.
And any demons you've got, or any fears or thoughts, negative thoughts that you've got, you're lying in bed, you can't really sleep, you're thirsty, you're hungry, all that, and you're going over the fight in your mind. Like I say, the night before the fight, you've weighed in, you're feeding up, sleep like a baby.
That's so interesting to hear. It really is. Well, that's from the two former fighters there telling you exactly what these two are looking at for the next couple of days as they just count down the minutes until they'll be ring walking outside at the back of this room in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We've been seeing the transformation on the pitch during the course of the afternoon. They're getting everything ready here. It is going to be an absolutely incredible scene. It's been an absolute pleasure to be with you all week. We'll be back one more time tomorrow for the weigh-in in a different part of central London. Same time though, 6 p.m. British summertime. Make sure you join us for that.
This fight will not go 12 rounds.
The procedure will be parliamentary.
I don't think this fight will go 6 rounds.
I look at him as someone I want to beat up. A bad beating.
From the first bell on April 26th at the Tottenham Stadium, Conor Benn will come out with the pain, with the suffering of the last couple of years, and will attempt to set about Chris Eubank Jr.
Retribution is coming your way, mate, I'm telling you.
He can prepare however he likes. He still ends up on the floor eating the canvas.
He's going to hit you so many times with a left, you're going to be crying for a right. Will it go past 4 or 5 rounds? No. Soon as Conor hits him, that's it.
They will meet each other in the ring, head on, and they will go to war at Tottenham Stadium till the last man standing.
Ideal world, I knock Satsuma head out, splatter his head on the canvas.